Hello, everybody. This is Captain Sweep,
Yogi Shambu.
and we are the hosts for the show, The Insight Scoop, which is now starting to scour across the planet, looking for insights into the truth. And we are getting so much information from so many people. It's a little overwhelming, but those three people will soon turn to four or five, and that wave will continue to spread across the planet. So we're here from March 20th to March 26th. And what we have here is a great new beginning. We have a look at our prime minister, perhaps that we haven't seen before, and we want to give all the angles. We want to not always put these people in a bad light because they are trying their best. And so let me just bring something up here, and let's do a share screen. And let's take a look at Justin. So we've got a nice little speech here that he'll give at the European Parliament. We'll play a bit of that.
Please stand by. Your patience is appreciated. Our techs are working tirelessly to resolve this issue. What's so frustrating is when someone stands up and is mute. It's like, really? Like, you've come all this way. If you could just speak out loud. Let's check the volume of that video.
What are you doing? I can hear him. Can you?
No.
You can't hear him at all?
Nope.
Oh. Okay. So, I know, because I've got the headdress on.
Yeah.
Okay, what I'll do is I'll edit these two in. And the second one, have you seen it?
Yeah. Oh, not that one.
Have you seen so you can't hear this. Let me now can you hear?
No. We can edit out this part.
Can you hear that?
Oh, and shut down the your conversation there with. It's always.
What's that?
With if you shut down the conversation block there with Genoa. That's right. Perfect.
Can you hear
it? No.
You can't?
No.
I think it has something to do with my headset. I'm just going to send it to you, okay? And then I'll put them both in, and then we can start the commentary afterwards, and I'll just edit it, okay?
Oh yeah, that's great.
So
if people are seeing this, know that yes, there is a back door, and there's so much magic that happens with our elves shoring up our human capacities.
okay, I just sent it to you. Have a quick look, and then we'll start again.
Great. Look, now everyone knows that I'm tardy.
So they're beautiful juxtapositions. Does my
Bam. Christine Anderson, eh? Just does it.
She just pounds him.
Woo, we just, I pray for that level of assertiveness, frankness, and wow, that is just, it's such a relief. It really feels good to have other people speaking out, and especially him, our prime minister, being, um, yeah, being analyzed from the world stage, which is something where it's outside of our bubble,
Mm.
and outside of the, well, the conservatives are against him, but the liberals are for him. It's outside of all of that didactic commentary. And if you saw the other fella, the Croatian guy, wow, yeah, just incredible talking. um uh the Actually, we can, yeah, I can
Pause.
hit that. I'm not gonna.
Okay.
Wow, Christine Anderson. I just pray for that level of assertiveness and frankness, just not mincing any words. And if you look how the mainstream media in our country, they had said, oh, well, he had a standing ovation. Well, okay, he had a standing ovation. First, he had a huge walkout where there was, I think it's 700 people around or sitting in the EU Parliament. And one MP said that we have like 75 people in the room. And yet their lobby was chocked full. And so they actually had the majority of the MPs walking out. And so that's the first thing. And then the people that did remain, how many people actually stood up when they had a chance and actually spoke directly, frankly? Man, don't we wish that we had the opportunity to speak to our leaders in as straightforward of a manner? And he's kind of trapped there, which is amazing. So I wouldn't want to be in his shoes.
Well, especially, I don't know if the speech that he had was after or before that. That would be very interesting to know which, because I'm not sure which would be worse, to give a speech like that and then get hammered, or to get hammered first and then give your speech. But he seems to be quite unfazed. He's saying those words as if he believes them to be true, and like no one is believing him. Like his level of credibility has reached so low that uh, there's no relationship between truth and his words.
It's the duplicity that seems, that's actually scary to me, is when you don't even feel someone flinch. It's
Mm,
just it seems that there is a puppeteering going on. We already know, as we found out over this last month, that the WEF, the World Economic Forum, and Klaus Schwab have been very open, which is always strange to me why they are so open about these things. But
mm.
they're very open and excited that Trudeau, and that they've penetrated more than half of the cabinet with their agenda, penetrated half their cabinet.
They actually say that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she.
They're a bunch of wackos. Like the thing is, they're so insane that you don't know your impact, right? When you're sort of really insane, you're saying things thinking that either people are believing you, or you're not registering their impact, and that's part of the insanity. It's just you're going forward and you're knowing that nothing's coming in, and no sort of identification of how you're affecting it. So you're just like this train that's out of control. Nothing's going to stop it, and that's their plan. Like they're trying to force this new world order in, and they seem to be doing pretty well though. Like, I got to give them that.
um the tyranny dictatorship seems to really be landing well for the majority of the masses, or at least the momentum of the system seems to be perpetuating this. Roll it. the rollout seems to be happening. Not that many people are changing their lifestyles, which is what has to happen. You have to change your lifestyle to address it, but it doesn't seem like it. Is it the boiled frog? You think that if you throw a frog in boiling water, then it's going to jump out, but if you slowly raise the temperature of the water over time, the frog's going to stay in there. But
Well, I think you got to add in the crab, the boiling crab thing, where if you got the crabs all in the boiling water and one tries to get out, they're pulled down. And I think one of the people I wanted to bring up or many people were the leaders that have been in jail and they have new charges. And so there's Pat King, there's George Billings, there's Chris Barber and Tamara Leach. And Chris and Tamara are out and Pat and George are still in jail. And they now have 10 charges. They have 2 counts of intimidation and obstructing police, a count of mischief, counseling to commit mischief, counseling to obstruct police, counseling to intimidation, disobeying a court order, and counseling to disobey a court order. So they're not only doing these bad things, but they're counseling others. And I mean, I remember listening to Pat King quite a bit. He was probably my main source of info down at the Freedom Convoy. And he's a very sort of happy-go-lucky guy, and but he was definitely in the center point of organizing where truckers were going and how to get them gas and how to get them food and how to get them hotels. And he seemed to be doing more logistics than anything. But what they've done is they've identified, 4 leaders, and now they're going to hit them with everything. Like they are going to put them in jail as long as they can to because that's what they do to leaders. And if you see online, like the whole trucker thing is sort of falling apart in terms of the amount of communication. At least if my streams are any indication, where there was tons and now there's like hardly a whimper. I haven't even heard anything from the trucker convoy in the United States. And have you heard anything, Mr. Shambu?
yeah, there is they were blocked going downtown Washington, and they've been circling now for like a couple of weeks. They've been circling and circling and circling the
Oh, really?
highway. Yeah, because they've been blocked. So then there's a freedom festival that's happening in LA that is going to be massive, and
Mm,
that is coming up. And so, but no, it's amazing how fickle, how short minded the news cycle is. And if it's not being pushed by the news cycle, then it seems to really be dropping away. And there's some painful truths. This is my feeling, is that there's some painful truths about dictatorship, about the molding of our future here in Canada, that people don't want to be looking at. They're not ready to really be looking at. So therefore, the signs of it are just being pushed right under the rug, which is classic abuse behavior. If you're abused by a spouse, then you push it under the rug until finally it pushes back, and then you have to be facing it.
mm,
And we have a lot going on in Canada right now that is showing this. But back to what you're saying, the very fact that there are people within the convoy that are still in jail and nobody is talking about this.
mm,
No one, even within most of the alternative news networks that I know, are reporting, okay, well, this is, day 35, and these people are still in jail,
mm,
because we don't want to think that there are political prisoners in Canada, that we're above all that, that, you have dissidents that just disappear,
mm,
but they've effectively just disappeared. And
mhm,
that is the way that I think we should accurately frame this situation. They are political prisoners. They are prisoners of dissent. And because the Ottawa police, I'm not sure if you saw, but they just released a report admitting that there was no violent, there was no weapons, there was none of this that would have made them feel terrorized by the convoy. And so that's an official report coming back from law enforcement,
Hmm.
just out, I think, this week. So
Hmm.
that narrative is it's amazing that you can have a narrative pushed, everyone jumps on that, and then the event passes. But then when that narrative is it collapses from the facts, well, it's a, oh well, that's already happened, so
On to
what?
the next thing. On to the next thing. Oh, we have a war. Thank God we've got this war, and all of our attention is going to go on the war right now. And you guys don't have a good memory, so that's just the way it is. And we do this pretty much every year for the last 50 years. And so we are not deviating from our plan because we know your memory is just nothing.
Because, well, it works. The
Mm.
recipe works, it seems. And they threw in terror, they threw in, well, though the fear has been used, obviously, but aggression, upset, outrage seems to be one of the greatest motivating trump cards. It's like, oh, they're really getting in about what we're doing domestically, well, let's get them outraged out there.
Mm.
And that seems to be, you're right. Yeah. So do you believe that, I know that Tamara Lynch has been released. I saw that she went back to Medicine Hat, Alberta, I believe it is, and she was welcomed back. I mean, these people are they're barred from society at this point, and I've been thinking a lot about this: is what happens to dissidents, and how can they shut down their life long term? How, this person's never going to be able to go to another country again. I mean, this is the kind of thing that sticks with you.
Well, I mean, right now, all the unvaccinated people are dissidents. I mean, and they can't travel. And isn't Canada the last remaining country where you can't travel if you're unvaccinated? And we're the only country on the planet. Like,
Within your own country, they actually now have, you're allowed to come into the country untested.
ah,
And so, yeah, who knows what's happening? But if you're unvaccinated, and it's a punitive thing, I mean, we do know that now. And if anyone has question about that, I would love to go back and forth and we can reason it and actually compare notes around that.
you mean
But
you mean actually talk about natural immunity and how many people have actually got it and how affected it is? Like, it's incredible to me how, what used to be conspiracy theory becomes fact. And then that fact then sort of disappears as you say, as the narrative unfolds and they sort of go on with life. And yet there's all of this evidence. It's all of this evidence. And the biggest thing is just the amount of money. The amount of money that they said we're going to spend on COVID whatever, and then trillions go around the world. No one knows where it goes. No one's tracking it. No, no one's seeing if that money did any good. Like there's such a double standard for us as a basic human being who we can park a car in a and leave it in a ticket zone and it's 10 minutes over the ticket and you're freaking you get a $50 ticket, you don't pay within a week, it's $100, and you don't pay within 2 weeks, it's $150, right? And they're so effective at the accountability and getting that money out of you. And yet when it gets up to the billions and hundreds of millions of dollars, all of a sudden, oh, we don't know where the money went. And it went to these programs, and the
it's
programs.
impossible to track it. We just don't know. Well, yeah, right.
Yeah.
And it seems like, okay, this is impossible to track. No, actually, audits do happen, and the audit for the COVID spending, I believe that there is a group that is actually starting that, and so I'll follow up on that. But I heard that is starting, is because we have a lot of unaccounted money in this country that has gone on, and there's there's some interesting things that are happening, but I just want to throw it back to you before I get into some of the things that have been on my mind. Um, yeah, it- politicians only really lean in, it seems, when there's an election coming. And in France, there's an election in 1 month. It's starting. The election there for the new prime minister, and so Macron is facing a huge challenger by Eric Zemmour. And get this, okay? He is running on a bring healthcare workers who are unvaccinated back into the workplace. It's time to drop this. It's time to get our medical system up and running, because the EU is facing an absolute, what they call, a medical desert. And so they have so many people who are waiting. I think it was like 300,000 people were waiting right now in England for knee replacements, that type of non-critical surgeries. And so I'm excited to see, because Macron, right, he has been one of the most abusive to non-vaccinated people, vowing in public that he would make their lives miserable. This was his type of behavior. So I'm pretty excited to see how that election goes. Yeah, because this is the first big election of any major leader since this whole thing is passed. And so we'll see if the people were, were actually affected, because you had dissidents in France beaten. Like, there was a lot of beatings that was going on there. That was a very brutal crackdown on dissent. So tell me what's going on here. What's your next video? God, I love TV. I was raised on it, so I'm so hungry.
Okay. So I think what we really have to look at is imprisonment of leaders and the impact that has. And it's a projection. It's like the government has been got hit in the nose by the truckers. And the truckers were the first group to have strength, the first group to actually say, we're going to shut you down unless you actually start listening to us, which they didn't do. And then they brought in the Emergency Measures Act, which is like coming in with a massive tool to try to bang in a small nail. And then they brought in all the cops, they impounded all the trucks, and they arrest the leaders. And now the leaders are isolated. And I know that Pat King, he had a lawyer and he was going to his bail hearing, and then he fired his lawyer. The new lawyers didn't show up. So he's not getting the support he needs. And I know he's somebody who has gone into court and protected himself on his own, but I get the feeling he's being isolated, and that they're playing their little games on the inside. And this is something which needs a lot of attention. It's like Julian Assange. These people are heroes, and they're the ones in the front lines. They're the ones taking the biggest risk, and they're the ones that are actually doing something. And that all the armchair quarterbacks and our laptops, we need to put attention. We need to support these people and to continue to bring the light of justice to what is occurring. Because if we don't, those people are going to spend a lot of time in jail, I think.
Mm. How many people are in jail right now?
Well, there's Pat King and George Billings. They're in jail, and Chris Barber and Tamara Leach are not. So
You serious? How many of us as Canadians know that we have political prisoners in jail right now? And that's what I would call it, is a political prisoner, because they disagreed with the policies and they stood up. It's I know that Tamara Lynch, so she was released. Is that right?
yeah, she when was she released? She was let out March 7th, and Barbara was released the next day. And King was denied bail February 24th. They say they don't trust him. They say I think they're calling him a liar and saying that that he won't. Like it's, oh man, it's like the bully, it's like the bully bullying someone, and then he gets punched in the nose, and then all of a sudden the bully brings in the full force of the law to attack whoever punched him in the nose. And that's what's going on right now. Like these people are like normal Canadians who are taking a stand, and they have the right to do so. And to say that they're intimidation, obstructing police, counseling people to obstruct police, counseling people to intimidation, all of that is just bullshit.
It's amazing that once you have a court order for something to stop, it
Mm,
no longer becomes, is your action justified or not? Is it right or not? It's wrong. So you can't even argue that I'm doing this because of an unprecedented need. That that's not even um, a a real argument in court. It's whether you breached it or not. If
mm,
you breach the court order, then suddenly the court is offended, and
right.
suddenly the court is going to shut you down and imprison you, even though um, that is such a minor issue when it comes to the larger issues at play. So it's it, wow, to also the fragility of the ecosystem within a movement, that you really need these leaders. You need a leader, um, or things just scatter very quickly. What has been the impact of these leaders being put into prison, do you think?
Well, I think the commentary stopped. Like to me, the videos that were informing me on what was going on, Pat King was the main one. And I think that there's a momentum that happens, and there was a great amount of momentum. And then, of course, in Ottawa, it got stopped. And so there's now all of these people, and it's like Occupy. It's like a lot of people who don't really know what to do. They want to make a stand, they want to resist, but the leadership hasn't organized them in a manner because it's impossible, because it's a sort of grassroots organization where people just show up, and they need a new goal. They need a new goal, and that goal in some ways might be, get our leaders out of jail.
Mm,
Like the
mm,
movement should realize that, okay, well, we're stopped, we're stalled. What's the next thing to focus attention on? The next thing to focus attention on is our leaders are going to go to for years in jail for doing something that that was good. It's good for the people. It's good for everyone there. So without supporting them, it's like not supporting Julian Assange, who points to the war crimes going on. Like these people are pointing to very important things, and yet they take the hit. And that's something which destroys, I think, the real movement, because who really wants to take a stand then if you're never going to be supported, and you're going to get the full weight of the bureaucracy to attack you.
mm, mm. Probably the largest event in my mind over the last year when it is coming to this, medical freedom or democratic freedom, and no one is talking about it. It's that's really wild, really wild. And they're shutting down dissent. If we look at Victoria's freedom convoy, now it has been shut down more and more, where they're shutting down the actual whole area. So at first it was just the block, and then 3 blocks, and now um, they're saying that that the region around it is all complaining about it,
Right.
because it's such a, the grounds to the parliament are so big, because in my eyes, because a big group of people should be allowed to be there to congregate to protest.
Mm.
And but we don't value protest, it seems, in this country right now.
Well, I think, to me, because they are lessening the mandates, I think they're going to go down a little bit more release more, but still hold on to like the background is like they're just building infrastructure. And each new wave, they come in with they go to the out of control stuff, and then they bring it in a little bit, and then they bring in the infrastructure, what you got to participate in. So they're slowly going up. So like to me, they're going to try to they'll remove as much as they can, and they'll go through the summer, and then they'll go into the winter again, and then some other strain will come in, and now they'll be going for the digital IDs. Now they'll be going for whatever can stick, because I really think that there's something we can do when there's enough force, when there's enough people that are against something, it doesn't go. Just like in England, but I mean in Canada, God, we they call Canada the Belgium of Europe. Like we just seem to be a bit like Australia, where we're like the most passive people. We just put up with so much shit. We put up with it all our lives, and we put up with it. And there's that status mentality, the status mentality that the government is the religion. The government has the authority. The government we will follow. And that's been indoctrinated within everyone since we went to school. And now it's just part of our thinking. And if you haven't done a reformat of your own mind in some way, you haven't restructured your beliefs or at least questioned them, you're just going to go along with the party line.
Mm.
And
And
that's,
there seems to be, hmm,
go ahead.
there seems to be a, you have to buy it part and parcel. You really have to buy the whole scene if you're going to buy into democracy, which people really cling to that okay, well, at least we have a free country, we have democracy, but they are fine with the fact that we elected someone with 20% of the popular vote, um,
Mm,
and that now the NDP and the Liberals just signed a backroom deal giving them the majority of power until 2025, and we're fine with that.
mm,
It seems that we're like, well, who are we to complain when there are other countries that are so out of freedom, that are dictatorial, but there are signs. And as you said, there's infrastructure that's happening. Did you hear about this $600 million? Here, I'm just getting my facts here because it was just a crazy amount here. There was a huge bailout. There's this big bailout here. Is $600 million. Yeah, I was right. Of the major news networks in Canada, that is just going through right now.
another one, because didn't he give over 300 million a little while ago?
Oh, this might be the same one. It's been up to 600 million.
$600 million, a
Yeah,
bailout for the media.
for the media, which is, as we all know, whoever is paying your meal ticket is the one that you're going to talk to or talk about in a positive light. And CBC has been criticized for years about this, but now if you have CTV, if you have Global, if you have all these groups that are going to be receiving this, we really have to track who is getting this money, and then really factor that in when we're actually wanting to get unbiased news reporting.
I'd like to get $600 million. I mean, we're doing this for nothing. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, on the one side, usually the side that is just, that is right, that is working for the people, they don't get paid. And on the other side, the cops, the judges, the lawyers, the bureaucrats, all of those people get paid. This is something that, again, isn't usually brought up, but I want to bring it up. And I brought it up before because if you look at Fairy Creek or you look at any place where there's actually people defending the land, people defending sacred sites, people defending something, they're the good guys against the evil government. Those are the bad guys, but the bad guys get paid. So there's such a imbalance that if you are getting paid to ruin something and someone is trying to protect it and they're not being paid, you're essentially going to lose over and over and over again. And so I think that there has to be a new approach where you can actually make money by protecting that which is beautiful and sacred. And I think that's where I think Planetary Guardians is aiming to go.
Mm.
That
Well, this is what they're doing in Europe, and when I was involved with the old growth blockades, it was there was a constant fear and criticism of, oh, are you a paid environmentalist, a paid activist?
mm,
Because then and suddenly you're in bed with with all of these evil groups that are trying to conserve and break down the resource extraction that's going on. But in Germany, that's just the norm, is that
mm,
if you're involved in this type of an activity, you are set up with ways that you can support yourself, support your life, your household, so that you can actually really get in the game and stay in the game for a long time. Because once you have people scrambling to find um, a, a, a way to make a living, and this is the problem with the universal income. It's all great and people are all excited about it. Oh, well, imagine that, I'm going to be finally able to do my gardening. I'm going to be able to do all these things. Well, yeah, as long as you're going along with what the government is saying.
mm,
But it's prison for you, or it is shutting down your universal basic income. And
mm,
then how can you function without your digital ID that just shut you out of your electric car and your Google house?
mm,
And so it becomes it's so amazing to me how it's utopian and dystopian, and it's your alliance with the party line.
mm,
That's really what tips you in and out of the system.
mm. Well, Russell Brand, I was seeing him this week, and he's starting to get attacked. He was bringing up some of the information about Justin and what he was doing over here, and he's got 5 million followers. So he's going point by point, and the man is intelligent, the man is funny, and he's going point by point through whatever he's being attacked with and refuting it beautifully. And again, he's got an audience. I mean, he's got an audience of 5 million people that love him. And then you read through the comments, and they're like all on his side strongly. And I'm sure, if you go through the comments on any of these corporate media people, it's all hate. They all hate him. So it's
Hate and laughing emojis.
oh, totally. So I mean, you can assess where the people are, right? The people are behind those people that are for the people, and it's so obvious these days. But I, there's going to be some sort of whether a ranking system or some relevancy system that is going to pertain to a worldview. And it's going to be like, well, if you're Christian, this is good and this is bad. And if you're Jewish, this is good and this is bad. And if you're First Nations, this is good and this is bad. Because the perspectives are so different, especially between the government and non-government, right? That to me is the dividing line these days. And all of the movies, I don't know about you, that I've seen and TV shows that futurize, they always have this government that is sort of, evil and in control, always wins, has all the resources, has all the military. There's always this small band or one person who's fighting. Like that's the story they give us, right? Rather than a story that has the entire planet of people get sick of governments and just get rid of them. They bring in councils of elders. They just first, something occurs and just the concept of government disappears, just like the feudal system disappeared, right? It's just it doesn't work. It's a scam. It's not right. It's based upon usury. It's based upon you know stealing everything from everyone around the world and then keeping it going as long as you can when the world wakes up and goes, fuck that noise. We don't want to be ruled by you stupid parasitic motherfuckers. Anyway, I don't Yeah, I don't think most news channels will bring that one up, but
No, no, I don't think so. It might affect your social credit score. But it's something that is you know there is some good news, there's some bad news. The thing about politics and the legal system is that it's so damn slow, and so and it's always lagging behind. And so you have law enforcement doing whatever they want, and then they know it's going to come out in the wash years into the future. But here's a good one, and I just wanted to bring this up because we're getting, kind of, yeah, we're getting really honest here, but it's kind of jaded because of the difficulties that are going through, that we're all going through. DC parents bill shut down by ICANN, and so ICANN is a legal group, and it's the Children's Defense Fund, and but so have you heard of this bill in Washington?
no.
They were trying to pass a bill, and imagine this for a second, that you're living in a world where your 11-year-old 11 years and up can they're being encouraged to get vaccinated and not tell their parents.
What?
This is a parent consent bill where they would strip the need to have parental consent if the child is over 11 years old.
What?
And not only that, okay, but that the school would actually have to be put into a position where they keep two sets of records. One that they show the parents, and one that they actually report to the ministry. So you have duplicitous. And the crazy thing is that this is being encouraged. This is going through a governmental electoral body as if this is a good thing, but it was just shut down. But I mean, wow, wow, wow. So the doctors know, but the parents don't know. The insurance companies know. And so if there was something that happened, then say an adverse reaction happened, which of course never happens, right? But if it did, hypothetically, then the insurance company wouldn't be able to tell the parents that they were in fact they had gone through this medical treatment. And so therefore you have huge breakdowns on every single front. The most dystopian. This breaks down. Imagine children's psychologies here, that you have a hard enough time trying to stay on the same page with your teenagers, that now they're actually embrazened by the law,
Hmm.
saying that no, you don't have to tell your parents shit. You could just do whatever you want because you're doing the right thing here. So wow, that was one of the most mind-blowing things that I heard this week. And the fact that we won.
Well, I think we're coming to the end of this week's show. We've been all over the place, but I think we're sort of saying the same thing, that we are questioning the official narrative. We actually are saying that it's a bunch of bunk, and that I want to bring up the same old. That like 9/11, there's stuff behind the scenes that aren't being brought up, and that's what we're going to bring up and bring the things in front of the scenes, bring the scene from the sides of the scenes, everything. Uh, Yogi Shambu, what do you got to say?
Oh, let's trust in proportional representation. And if you value free speech, then value everyone's voice and trust in people's intelligence. People can listen to this and other podcasts and wade through it and decide for themselves. But, do look into Bill 67, C67, because they are trying to shut down a whole bunch of opportunity for free speech under the guise of right information. And look through it. keep your eyes aware, because this is going down the pipeline, and we'll be talking about it probably next week, because it is the thing.
All right. Thank you, Yogi Shambu. And thank you, everyone, for listening. And we'll talk to you next week. See you later,
Bye. See you.
alligators.